Yo, what's up everyone? Daniel Yuck here. Thank you all for tuning in today. I appreciate it. Today we are going to be diving into episode 3 of the tattoo critiquing series, and we're going to kick it off with this tattoo right here. Now I just want to go ahead and say a couple of things before we dive into this episode right here. And one of the first things that I wanted to say is, again, just to confirm, I've said this in almost every episode, this is not to tell you what you did wrong. This isn't to say or prove that I am better than you or anything weird like that. The point of the critique series is to give people an area where they can feel safe to submit their work and get honest and honest and insightful feedback in a better direction, as opposed to telling you you suck or don't do this and everything else that I also endured along my way, because I've endured some stuff along my tattoo journey as well. Now, just to confirm and reiterate, this is not to tell you that this is right or wrong. This is not to say this is the only way to do it or my way is the only way to do it. Nothing weird like that. It's just to share some artistic insight with you from one artist to another. Now, the second thing is, I really am not truly comfortable with taking submissions where people are practicing on human skin. That's why they have loads of different types of fake skin. So I kind of feel that I'm going to drift away from accepting submissions where people are sending in tattoos on human skin. I'm not sure if there's going to be any right here within this specific episode, in which there may be a couple. However, if you're sending in tattoos where I feel like it's just not appropriate, or if it's botched, or if it may look infected, or whatever the case may be, if I can obviously tell that you're practicing on human skin as opposed to fake skin, I may just go ahead and look over it. So if your submissions don't make it into the episodes, that may be somewhere along the reasons of why, because I'm not here to condone practicing on human skin. We have slabs of fake skin that we can go ahead and do that on and make our mistakes on, so that way we're not doing this to human people. So just to confirm, I just wanted to let you all know basically that situation, and I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want anyone to get offended or anything like that. So yeah, I do kind of have to draw a line somewhere in what I guess in terms of what I'm willing to accept here for this critiquing series. Now, with that being said, I apologize. I don't mean to offend anyone. So if I did, yet again, I genuinely apologize to you. So what I would like to do though is just continue accordingly and relay some insightful information on these tattoos that I have in front of me. So we are going to kick the episode 3 off with this tattoo right here that is in front of me, and it is by a gentleman named Robert Goldring. Thank you for your submission. Let's go ahead and dive right on into it as we used to. So what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to match color here to this tone, so that we can be a little bit more cohesive upon my explaining. Forgive me there. So with that being said, where I always typically begin is the bottom of the tattoo, but since this one's already done, I can essentially begin anywhere. Now, me personally, I talk about this a lot, like this right here. So you see this area right here, how this line's not connected. This line hit the epidermis, and then we have this area missing, which is not connected as well. It's little things like that that truly make a difference in the quality of the work that we are doing. So let's say if I just simply connect these lines, and let's say they were a bit more saturated, as you can see. And then the same thing with every single line around it here, just nice cohesive lines. It really will make for a better read of the tattoo. So I feel how good we are with each technique, like how good we are pulling lines, how good we are applying shading, all of that, all of the abilities in which we are capable of, how good we are is going to show within the tattoo, obviously. So what I'm saying is, if we aren't fully, A and Bing the lines, so let's say if we're not imagining that A to B, and then try to connect those lines as easy as possible, there's a lot more room for error, in my opinion, like right here. So as you can see, this right here is not connected, and to me, all of these little things stand out like a sore thumb. As you can see right here, this one's not connected as well. As you can see, we have this one right here, and it's just these little things that start adding up within the tattoo. So as you can see, I corrected one, so there was about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So people, when they read the tattoo, we're going to read that. That's what our eyes are going to focus on, and every time they see it, the quality will decline less and less. That's how I see it. That's how I look at it. I could be incorrect, and again, this is just in theory. It doesn't mean that this is actually how it works. This is just how I look at it. And as you can see right here, so if I just simply go over everything like so, you can see it starts making for a better read on the tattoo. And again, this is just me kind of going over the lines quickly just to kind of demonstrate, so I can try to keep this video in a timely manner while still getting the points across. But as you can see, already the tattoo does make for a better read. So if this tattoo is still available to you on your practice skin, I would recommend just trying to go over it unless the skin doesn't allow you to do so, because I understand sometimes the skins can become somewhat cut. But as you can see though, that is the idea behind it, is making sure that when we pull lines that they are, I don't know why the tip is doing that. When we're pulling lines, making sure that we are A and Bing all the way through and completing the line. That's pretty much what I would recommend for this tattoo right here. Also, one thing that I did notice as well is the tapering. Where is it? Like for example, right here on this curve, the tapering in and out right here could have been a bit better. So I would recommend putting some time into tapering in and out, like practicing just tapering in and out only, so that way you can go ahead and complete these sort of lines in a better direction, or with more efficiency, so to speak. I did make a video recently on tapering in and out, so I do recommend you check that out. I don't know why the brush is doing that. So essentially that's how I would go about doing these tattoos, just really taking my time and making sure that when I pull the line, it's going to be from A to B. The B is right there. A to B, all the way through. And then the same thing, A to B. You can start anyway. I even went from B to A right there, as you can see, because it was more comfortable for me. Or you could do it this way should you choose to do so. The choice is going to be completely up to you. You can kind of see though the difference that the tattoo is, I guess, changing into, how it's transforming into something a bit more with better readability, just by simply changing out the lines, or by simply focusing on the lines and completing them with a bit more precision. But overall though, as you can see, that's what I would have to say about this tattoo. You're definitely headed in the right direction. Keep trying, keep going. I appreciate your submission, Robert Goldring. Thank you very, very much. Let's go ahead and proceed now. The next one up on the list is going to be a submission from Josh. So as you can see right here, we have a tattoo which appears to have some pretty solid line work right here in this area. There's a few of the lines that stand out to me right here. They're a bit lighter than the others, and a few more right here, and a bit more up here. Gets a little tight right here. So this right here is probably bad design, so to speak, and bad sizing for this specific design. To me, when stuff like this starts happening within my tattoos, the lines were just too close for what we were trying to do. The configuration wasn't right. There's many variables to consider when we tattoo, so that's why I wanted to go ahead and include this one in there. This one does look as though it is on human skin. So again though, as we move on with the critique series, I'm going to kind of navigate on over to practice submissions, and I'm going to stay away from human skin. However, this one has some really good points that we can all go over, and I can shed some light here and just kind of give my artistic insight as to how I would approach this. I'm going to find some dark pigment here. So for me, where I begin, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of explain what I would have done, and I want to show out some points here. Or rather, let me go ahead and start right here. So with the mustache, what I would have done is simply have bolded out the lines a bit more. Let me darken this right here. So with the mustache lines simply being a bit more dark would make for a better read. Now, if you hear me speak within my videos, I'm always talking about the readability of tattoos. To me, the readability is one of the main variables that determines the quality of a tattoo. And again, this is just the way that I see it. This isn't anything that's set in stone or anything like that. This is just my thought process in which I think about tattooing. And for me, the readability of every tattoo, knowing, pulling those nice, clean, confident, saturated lines is everything. It's going to make all of the difference within your tattoos. So right here, let's see, kind of just making stuff up here as we go. So as you can see though, within this area, with it being a bit more saturated, the readability to me, in my opinion, is much more pleasant to my eye over lighter and darker lines, because to me every line should be cohesively the same in terms of darkness, saturation, and the way the line flows. The line flow should also be cohesive to everything else around it. So as you can see, just by simply focusing on, I think too, a main variable to consider when I'm tattooing and pulling lines is I plant my elbows down and I really get in there, because I see tattooists where they have like their armrests and they're kind of like floating in the air. I won't really tattoo like that. I don't feel comfortable tattooing like that. That's just me. That's just something that I would recommend, is to also find a comfortable spot that you're comfortable tattooing. Me, again, I just plant my elbows where I'm at and I just start pulling my lines away. And up here too, with this right here, this may be just a bit of design flaw. However, as you can see though, when we zoom in, there are multiple blowouts, and for those who aren't or who've never really seen a blowout on human skin, this is also a good demonstration right here. As you can see, these are blowouts within the skin, and where the lines are probably doubled and or more saturated, that's where these are occurring. So as you can see right here, it tends to look more bruised, and as you can see right here under the eye, this looks a bit more bruised. And as you can see over here within here, it looks a bit bruised. And as you can see, the lines are saturated. However, they're a bit choppy. And that, again, comes down to, it could, comfortability could play a role. There's a lot of variables to consider. If I were there seeing you, I may be able to guide you in a better direction. However, it's hard to say what was done, how it was done within the tattoo. So I'm not really going to do that. I'm going to focus more on what I see available and what I would have changed. Like for the design flaw, I would have kind of used a smaller or a thicker needle out here on the outside, and then I would have used a smaller needle, or vice versa. You could use a smaller needle on the outside, a thicker needle for this main piece right here. And then little things like that, as you can see, would make for a better read. Now, when I say design flaw, for me, design flaws are parts of the designs that are not making sense to me visually, or that I really can't do, in terms of my skill set wise. So if there's a part of a design that is in the stencil and I don't have the skill sets to do that part of the design, I would consider that a design flaw, because my skill sets aren't there to match what needs to be done on that tattoo. And I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just kind of demonstrating what design flaws are to me. And as you can see, with a simple cleanup there, being able to, and I would have even added white possibly in there to, differentiate those lines there. Little things like that would have made all the difference. Overall though, I genuinely do appreciate the submission. I felt like this was a good presentation to take some time, or I felt like this was a good opportunity to take some time to elaborate and show you a bit more insight. For me, it's just about, I think the only thing that I would really say, since this is a line-based tattoo, is the lining. And again, if we zoom in right here, this one right here over time will probably definitely fade out or look a lot lighter. So like by simply putting the lines in there, and then right here too, you can see it's a little bit lighter as well. And all of that matters, every single line. That's why I talk about that A and B, because that's really what it is. Like, we have to make sure every line we pull, it's always cohesive to the next. Like, every line is almost the same and cohesive. Like, me personally, I don't like lighter lines, and this one's gonna be a little bit darker, this one's gonna be a little bit lighter. It should all be the same, all cohesively across the map, across the board, across the entire tattoo. As you can see though, upon doing so, it definitely does make for a better read of the tattoo. But overall though, that's what I had to say here. And again, with the blowouts, as you can see, these are saturated lines, yes, but within here we hit the hypodermis. That could have been just simply by pressing too hard. Obviously we may have been doing that, Overall though, I genuinely appreciate your submission. Thank you very, very much. I hope that I can help you in a better direction, some way, shape, or form. And yet again, thank you very much for your submission, Josh. The next one up on the list is going to be Jillian Simmons, if I am correct, or Julian Simmons, forgive me. And for this tattoo, this is obviously on an arm. I see hair. This is human skin. So for me though, I wanted to bring this one into the video as well because I personally love to do mandala style tattoos or ornamental style tattoos, micro tattoos, floral. So this is kind of my hotspot. This is one of the things that I love doing within tattooing. Now, the reason why I say we should practice on fake skin here is, I'm trying to get the darkest pigment, is because as you can see right here, in some areas, if I'm correct, like, I'm not sure if this is like a scar or a keloid. Some areas look to be scarred. I don't know how fresh the tattoo was. If the tattoo was done within a matter of months, it could be that. Still needs more time to heal on the inside. However, for me, I recommend to everyone practicing on practice skin prior to human skin, or practicing on something other than human skin, so that way we can get an idea of how to hold the machine and how to pull a needle and how to drag a needle and all of that, how to pull a line, so that way we get that idea as opposed to figuring it out on human skin. Now, this tattoo, I am not typically in favor of. Again, I guess that goes back to my floral background. Me specific, I'm very, extremely picky rather with my floral tattoos, and I'm extremely picky with the readability of the tattoos that I do, in which how my tattoos read. I'm very picky with that. So with that being said here, for this one right here, I feel the line work could have been executed much better, because in some parts, as you can see before I go over it, if I zoom in, so like right here, the needle tip came out a lot more versus over here. It looks as though it may have even been like, this sort of tattoo looks as though it could have been done in a manner where the needle was, maybe sketched across like that, something like that. I'm not in favor of that style of tattooing. I've never used that style of tattooing. I never will, but that's what this kind of looks like to me. Like the flower was kind of sketched in like so, you know what I mean? So that's why some areas may be thicker, like right here. Here's a line right here that's supposed to be a detail, and this is the petal, and they're clashing together, they're coming together, which again is going to make for a bad read in the tattoo. So now, with that being said, for this style of tattoo, what I would personally do, like let's say if this tattoo were to be corrected, I would go in with a bolder size needle, maybe a round shader, and kind of touch everything up as best I could here, including the circles right here. And I personally done, I think, a couple of sunflowers in my time, or a few. I love doing sunflowers. And again, it goes back to just personal preference. Me, I'm very picky with the way that my tattoos read. I'm very picky with the way that people feel about the work that I do. I'm always constantly asking the people that I tattoo if they're happy with their work, stuff like that. I'm always checking in on them and their well-being with it. Let me go this way rather. So overall though, better line execution would make for a better read of this tattoo. However, I'm not sure though how early this tattoo was done. Some parts appear to maybe scarred, or it could just be the texture of the skin and the light in which it's glaring off the skin. But overall, that's exactly how I would approach it. And like this line right here, this one hit the epidermis right here. It looks as though it's a bit lighter. You can see we have a little bit of saturation where the needle point went in, and I'm assuming you pulled the line this way and kind of pulled out from this point, as opposed to pulling the line and then tapering it out like so. So as you can see, this line is thicker. I don't know why this detail would be thicker. It should be super thin. Again, in my opinion, this is just personal preference. This is just how I would go about it. And this is why I encourage everyone to practice on fake skin, so that way we can make mistakes on fake skin and not have to worry about it, as you can see. And I do see the dot work right here as well, but I don't know if it was done with a bigger needle configuration, because at first glance it doesn't look like true dots. It looks like Actually, yeah, you can see some dots there, but those dots look pretty big. That doesn't look like a 3-round liner. Me personally, I do dot work with a 3-round liner. So that's just, again though, that comes down to personal preference. But I felt like including this one, that we should include it because, again, it's a floral tattoo. There's a lot of room for error. I'm not sure if this was supposed to be 3 dots right here, as you can see, because it kind of clashes with the ink there. So again, when these sort of when we apply tattoos in a manner like this, and when we start adding these mistakes up within the tattoo, it makes for that read, if that makes sense. And I'm always trying to demonstrate that upon, you know, relaying this information upon almost all my videos. I'm always talking about the readability of the tattoos, and the readability comes down a lot down, you know, majority to the application in which the tattoo was applied. So as you can see, it even looks as though some of the lines may be blown out, as you can see right here. So if I zoom in, the lines right here, and it's a bit leaking out there, so that may be a blowout as well. Oh, wrong one. So that's essentially how I would go about that. And the formation in which the elements in the design flow is also everything, especially with these style of tattoos. These areas right here have to be executed with precision. Me personally, I don't feel the skill set was there to have accomplished a tattoo of such, simply because the needle configuration of choice as well was a bit more bigger than something I would have chose. And again, please keep in mind that this just comes down to personal preference. We're all going to think about tattoos and the approach in which we apply them differently. It's not going to be the same for all of us, or, you know, any of us really. So this is just me kind of speaking out loud and saying my difference with this tattoo right here. These elements right here have to be done with precision, and it's in such a manner where we can't tell, you know, where the wonks come in, and it's just, it should be cohesive. And to me right here, this one just seems a bit forced in my opinion. Yeah, I don't remember, I don't know the actual flow of this specific design right here. However though, as you can see, like this one right here is well, actually that may actually be the design where this one's supposed to be the outline, this one's supposed to be colored in. That could be that. I can get that there. Now over here with the circles as well, the circles they kind of get lost right here in this area. Like as you can see, this circle is just completely gone. Kind of have to make that one up. So as you can see, all of these little things begin to start adding up within a tattoo, and when people see the tattoo, this is what's going to help them determine if it's a good tattoo or not. So as you can see, even defining the circles there a bit more makes for a better read in the tattoo. And I think this comes down to application, because I do see a lot of blowouts right here. So it could have, this tattoo could have been winged is what I am looking at, because we miss the dermis almost every other line. But as you can see though, even just this part that was already, you know, been touched up here definitely makes for a better read in the tattoo. So for this one specific, I would highly recommend to not focus on tattooing human skin, but rather trying to get some silicone skins in your possession, so that way you can go ahead and run lines and practice lines on there. I genuinely appreciate your submission very, very much. Feel free, anybody, to drop a comment down below, and I will go ahead and do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. If I haven't touched base on anything specific, feel free to drop it in the comments below. Yet again, that's how I would approach it with this specific tattoo, and with the whole setup and approach that I were to be using on this end. If this was me, that's how I would approach it. I would try to get some practice skins, and then I would go ahead and just practice my lining until I get to a stage, or a better stage, of comfortability within tattooing. Yet again, I genuinely appreciate your submission. Let's go ahead and move on to the next. This one is going to be from Leroy, L-E-B-G, if I'm correct. Forgive me if the name is wrong. And this one is going to be on a practice skin, so I appreciate that. I'm going to match tone to yours here. Now, me personally, again, as I've mentioned, I love floral designs. I love flowers. It's one of my favorite designs to do. I didn't always feel that way about flowers in the beginning. Now I love them. Before, I didn't really like them. So right off the bat, what I will say is the shading is, I'm not a fan of the shading. However, the rose itself is very, very nice. I do like the rose. I like the design that you chose as well. And the lining it's decent lining. It's not bad. I do like right here how this is like a very thin line, and then you got little thin lines going like that. Me personally, I always make those bold. So to see a different approach is refreshing. So I do like the way that the leaves were done. However, I do feel like the lines could have been executed a bit better. And I think this again comes down to that comfortability, like how we are set up upon doing a tattoo. We have to be comfortable before we pull a line. If we're not comfortable, then it's going to be hard for us to really hit that dermis consistently. So as you can see, after shaping up those lines on the outside, I wouldn't even change the inside of that. I like what you did there with that leaf. I would just leave it like so. That looks great. Right here, I would do the same thing, make these lines nice, consistent, and cohesively bold that they're supposed to be, or because you can kind of tell some of them are a bit lighter in some areas and some of them are a bit bolder. However, though, these are nice leaves, so move this way like so, then just repeat the process until we get our desired readability. So as you can see, the tattoo, the rose is looking better. The leaves look a lot nicer. And I would kind of repeat that process essentially with the entire tattoo here. And then I'm gonna just continue. I'm just gonna clean up a little bit here. I'm just gonna try and do maybe a minute of cleanup, or just 30 seconds or so of cleaning it up, so that we can get an idea of that A and being our lines, so that way they come out nice and cohesive. And also, a lot of it comes down to the dermis as well. And I'll also elaborate a little bit more on the shading as well here shortly, and why I am personally not a fan of it. And for me, I remember shading was one of the most daunting things that I've ever faced with like tattooing and everything. But after a while, I ended up loving shading, and I don't really want to do many tattoos without some sort of dot work or shading involved. So after I'm just trying to clean this up right here as best I can, just to get my points across here. So you can see in the areas that I am cleaning up right here, it does make all the difference for the readability of the tattoo. Now, for the shading, like right here, you can see this area gets really, really dark. So for me personally, these dark areas is where my eyes go, like right here. How we have like one dark circle right here, and then it's, the shading is a bit spotty, is a bit blotchy, it's a bit unsmooth, it's a bit harsh. That's why I'm not a fan of the shading. However, that just comes down with practice and work. I mean, I guarantee you, I could show you some work that I've done in my earlier days, and my shading was not like this. It wasn't nearly as good as this in my earlier days. And again, I haven't been tattooing that long, so when I say earlier days, it may be kind of silly, but that's just how I reference the beginning of my journey. But as you can see right here though, cleaning the tattoo up right here makes for a better read of the tattoo in general. And then if we were to go ahead and kind of clean up all of these details right here. And then for the shading, I'm always using a stipple approach majority of the time. I am gonna bring more videos on how I shade with a mag and gray wash systems and things of that sort. But for now, we're gonna stick to this. And as you can see though, the lines, even just pulling cleaner lines makes for a much, much better read in the tattoo. So again, this tattoo design is a beautiful design. I love this design personally. The lines were executed, I would say, with like a class C, you did like a level C, if that makes sense. You know how they'll grade you in school. So I would grade the lining like level C, C plus, maybe even a B minus. But the shading, it's a bit of an F for me because of, again, like right here, the splotchiness. I think that the shading was done with a mag possibly. However, we'll get to where we're going. I can definitely see you improving. I can definitely see the potential. Everything will start making sense. We will go ahead and get more into shading as well. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel. We'll bring more videos on shading for you all. But overall, again, I do like the design of the tattoo. I do like the lining, and I do like the way that you executed the leaves. That was well done. The only thing that I would have waited on was the shading. However, you're going to get to where you're going. That's just how I feel about this specific tattoo. Overall, though, thank you for submitting. I genuinely appreciate it. I also appreciate you keeping it on practice skin as well, Leroy. Yet again, man, I genuinely appreciate the submission. Thank you very, very much. And the last submission right here is going to be from a tattooer, or tattoo artist named 86 Tattoo. Now, I'm going to match tone right here to this specific one so we can get a line. Now, this name specific, I am familiar with 86 Tattoo, and this style right here is a style where it's like traditional, where it's done with like round shaders or bolder lines typically. It reminds me of that phrase, bold will hold. For me specific, this style of tattoo, I get it. There's not much critiquing that I would actually do, to be fair, or to meet in the middle. Let me see if I can darken my tone here. So like right here, one thing that I just do notice is like right here, for example, this part didn't fully connect. I'm not sure if that was part of the design. Let's say if the design originally was like that, I still would have just connected it anyway, because my eyes read it better when it's connected. So that's one thing that I see off the top. And other than that, though, I'm a big fan of these bold will hold simple tattoos with like round shaders, or I believe this was done with the round shaders, what it looks like. But as you can see though, like maybe just if I had to say anything, like in this area right here, I would have focused on the comfortability in which I pulled these longer lines to get them a bit more cleaner, like right here, as you can see. And I get that, like my lines too will still you know, sometimes wobble, because I'll be there sometimes and I'm planted, I'm holding the client down, and sometimes they'll feel that pain and they just like, you know, they'll flinch, and sometimes you're not quick enough to pull that needle out, or what. There's many reasons how this can happen. Happens to everyone. It could be our fault, it could be the client's, everything in between. But that's the only thing that I would notice for like these longer lines. I'm not sure how long these actually were, how big the tattoo actually was, but I would probably have tapered, like started and then got into the middle and then tapered back in. And I also made a video recently on tapering in and out. That's how I would have approached it. If the lines are that long, I definitely would have tapered it in and out. If I'm using a smaller configuration, it would have been a different approach. But for these style of tattoos, we're typically using round shaders or larger needle configurations, 18 round liners, something to that extent. But other than that though, I'm a big fan of your tattoos here, these bold will hold traditional style tattoos. I'm not sure if that's the right name for these, so forgive me if I'm incorrect there. But overall though, as you can see, I'm just kind of going over the lines, cleaning them up a little bit. Not that it needs it, but overall that's how I would have approached it. There's not really much to say on this specific style tattoo. I'm actually a fan of it. I get these style of tattoos. Overall, that's pretty much what I would do, maybe just on the longer lines, like if this was a long line, tapering in and out, so that way when we start off, we can start off strong, take out, you know, taper out, taper in, the line remains cohesively straight as best as possible. That's just my approach though. That's just, you know, my preference, to each their own. If you can pull a line all in one stroke, by all means. I appreciate your submission, 86. Thank you very, very much, man. Yet again, I appreciate everyone's submission, from 86 to Leroy, Julian, Josh, and Robert. Everyone, yet again, thank you all for your submissions. I truly appreciate the support. If I didn't touch base on anything specific, or if I didn't like go over anything specific, or if you have any questions at all about anything throughout this video that you saw, please feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'm going to do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. Also, if you want to go ahead and be featured on one of the upcoming critique episodes, please go ahead and submit your current work, and please submit practice skins only. I highly encourage you to stay away from practicing on yourself, and I encourage you to submit practice skins only to yuckmadethis@gmail.com. That's going to be yuckmadethis madethis@gmail.com. I will go ahead and include them in the episodes of the critique series. Yet again, I truly appreciate your support. If you're not, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. I also have social medias all under the same name at Daniel Yuck. That's going to be DanielYuck, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all under the same name. Yet again, thank you for tuning in. Y'all have a great day.